The Museo ng Kaalamang Katutubo is a foundation undertaking cultural education and museum development. It assays various museological functions, being true to one of the two primary or central notions in our name, kaalaman. MusKKat's collection is a repository of both tangible and intangible heritage, and we explore and share these with everyone curious and interested in cultural objects, in processes of facture, and the accompanying stories and sundry information. One of the ways we share and interact is MusKKat's cultural brunch, entitled Usapin, Usapan, delivered as a podcast. It is a venue for an informed and informative conversation between MusKKat, represented by yours truly, Cora Alvina, and one subject matter expert. Our conversation at this time is with Reynaldo Rimando, former professor of math at the University of the Philippines in Baguio. He became fascinated with beads that the Cordillera Katutubo wore. He saw and realized that the beads were more than adornment. They signaled identity among the Itneg with whom he interacted. Hello, Professor Rimando. Hi, Ray, and
Uh-huh.
thank you for agreeing to do this podcast with us. Our podcast is entitled Usapin and Usapan. So yung usapin natin ay beads, ang usapan natin ay itong ating kwentuhan.
Of
Okay?
course. Yeah,
All,
that's great.
okay, so let me start. What about beads attracted you to them?
Well, initially, I have to make this initial statement that I am not in any way professionally uh, relating related to beads being cultural artifacts
Mm-hmm.
because I am a science major person. However,
Okay.
because of my choice to live my life here in Baguio City, which is what I would call a center of the Cordilleran culture, so to speak, and my interaction with the Cordillera people, having spent a majority of my life here in Baguio City, made me realize the impact and role of these beads in their life.
What would this be? I mean, what is the impact? Parang,
Well, it's basically to me cultural in nature because I knew that the beads, among other artifacts, are quite unique to this culture. And I appreciated that particular role at the beads because I personally have chosen Baguio as my residence and my life. And this particular artifacts have played many motivations in my life to appreciate the culture which I have chosen.
mhm. Could you elaborate on that? Kwentuhan mo ako how that happened.
Uh, can I speak in Tagalog also?
Of course. Of
Okay,
course.
also. So we can go bilingual
Trilingual if you like to
or
speak Ilocano
trilingual
as
for
well.
that. Oh, you see, since the people in Baguio are multicultural, this is a melting pot, so to
Mhm.
speak. I
Yes.
realize the beads played a distinct role to me in uh, separating the indigenous peoples of the Cordillera from the lowlanders or other groups. That's why uh, I knew that these cultural pieces called beads is a sort of an identity for these indigenous peoples who I considered as my new family or friends, being having chosen to live in Baguio.
You are originally from?
I was born an Ilocano to Ilocano parents. I was born in La Union, which is the part of the Ilocos region.
Mm-hmm.
But even at my young age, since my relatives, actually the sisters of my mom, were residents already of Baguio. So even in the early stages of my elementary days, I already came up very often to Baguio and fell in love with it to the point that I convinced my parents that I would have my high school in Baguio and eventually, as it turned out, even through my college.
Mm-hmm. And that's UP Baguio, I assume.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Okay, so you've told us about how culturally or historically significant beads are to you. So when
Mhm.
you look or hold or handle the beads, do they tell you anything? What do they tell you?
Uh, to me, it's a lot. The more important thing is if I hold a bead, I feel one with those groups of people, or we call them indigenous people, being part of them, because I hold it not just physically, but with a certain amount of respect to the culture that uses these cultural artifacts as a means to tell people of their uniqueness as a group of people.
But what are these roles in those culture? Are they heirloom? Are they decorative? Are they adornment? What to them would the beads mean?
Initially, Cora, I thought it was just an adornment.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's how it appeared to me initially. I have to be honest. However, through further interaction with them, I realized that it's more than ornament. As a matter of fact, they never meant it to be an
Mm,
ornament. So
really?
that further, increased my interest in it. And for that matter, it weren't just the women who were wearing them, but even the men, everybody, young and old. So
And
yeah,
what did that tell you about the culture and about the people?
well, the fact that they hold this and they own it and they use it for not just actually adornment is far below the reason that they're wearing it, but for their particular identity to be recognized, and these beads is part of that identity. I would assume, and I like that particular uh, how would you say attachment to that artifact.
Mhm. But how were you able to collect the beads
Okay.
if they are so much part of the people that you with whom you now have a bond through the beads? Um, how was it that you were able to make them part? What are your most outstanding experiences in the field in hunting for beads or looking for the beads?
Okay. Uh, when I was a single person, when I was single,
Not married, you mean?
not married, correct? The attachment or what I say, yeah, attachment to these beads was not that much. But when I got married and my wife happens to be a daughter of a businessman who had stalls in this malls, quote unquote, in the heart of Baguio called Maharlika Livelihood Center. There, there were indigenous peoples who would time and again come in and offer these beads.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I think, important to to say that even before we got married, we already decided as a couple to live here in Baguio and imbibe the Cordilleran culture as part of our upbringing of our children to be. And as it turned out, yes, we
Because
did.
neither of you were Baguio
Right.
natives.
Neither of us was was a Cordillera. We were both outsiders,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. So this created the everything Cordilleran. Actually, it's not just the beads, but I also had my interest into the other artifacts like blankets, the jars, the plates,
Mm-hmm.
and all these other artifacts that are associated with the Cordilleran people. But there came a point in my life when I focused and zeroed in. I personally, my wife had other interests as well, but I personally chose the bead to focus on.
Why?
Good,
Again.
good question. Why? Number one, definitely it is something that men and women, in other words, all everybody in the group, indigenous group, wore it. Second, it has a it has a fascination on the way each bead is different from the other, so it can be artistic. I don't know if that is the correct term, but I found them artistic.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while, I was going to uh, collect them or to acquire them for aesthetic purposes.
Okay.
But eventually, as my interaction with these indigenous peoples grew, my fascination went beyond the aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
sense. So I asked time and again, so many times, so many people, I asked, why do you wear these beads? And this led me to do well, a quote unquote research for beads.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I answered your question
Yes, you did.
properly,
Mm-hmm.
but that is the reason why I focus on beads.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And where is this research? Is it something
Well,
that you wrote out?
it is it is definitely very informal.
Okay.
Okay, but a compelling reason for me to go beyond aesthetics was when I met a group of Tinggians who were there in the commercial center called Maharlika Livelihood Center.
Mm-hmm.
And they were offering these beads. And I asked them, why are you parting with these wonderful pieces, which is part of your culture? And there I learned from the elders who were there, uh, selling these beads, that there are two main reasons why the beads have to be parted with. And one is for education of their children, that's for tuition and other things. And the second is for illness, hospitalization, or for the procurement of medicine. And that touched me enormously. So while the rest of the people in the Maharlika Livelihood Center were focused on the bids, on the commercial side of it, I I wasn't. I mean, I did not focus on bids to make it as a commercial item. So that touched me when the elders told me about this. And so they told me they needed to bring a member of the community to the hospital, and they needed cash, which they have very little of. So that's how I gathered this particular bid with, take note, Cora, with the promise that should they want to take it back, if and when the situation allows, I would return it to them. That is an assurance that I'm not doing it for commerce
Mm-hmm.
mainly. They can get it back with no interest at all, and just so their culture, these artifacts would go back to them.
I mean, that's a wonderful thought coming from your part, no? And I'm sure that it assured them that the beads were going to be taken care of by you, by this person. Was there no prescription about, you know, some sort of punishment from either their gods or from their community if they sold part of their material culture? They
Uh,
didn't tell you anything about that?
Honestly, none. There was none. There was no mention at all about the, how would you say, the, how, I don't know how to put it, but there was no mention at all that the gods would not favor
Yeah.
them because they will
Mm-hmm.
have to part with this artifact
Mm-hmm.
in this manner. As
Yeah.
there was no mention at all, and we didn't delve on that. It didn't occur to me at all. Neither did they speak of it, not
I
even in
see.
passing.
So, apart from the Tingyan, what other cultural communities did you mingle with
Well,
for
because
education or to look at beads? Didn't you go to the field?
I did. I specifically focused on one tribe because they were the ones who invited me.
Who are these?
And these are the, and so I went, and
Okay.
I really took that invitation very, very special. I little did I realize that the one who was inviting me, well, they were a group actually, Cora,
Mm-hmm.
who came to Maharlika, you know, and they had to sell these beautiful pieces because of the a member of the community needs to be brought to the hospital ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
Little did I realize that the elder who was speaking for the group was the Panga.
And please explain what is the Panga.
Okay, the Panga is the tribal leader,
Mm-hmm.
and whose words I came to know is the law in that particular tribe.
Okay. Where in Tingyan territory did you go?
Well, it is a very far. It is a very far barangay. Uh, if I remember the name Tinok,
Mm-hmm.
it's in the border of Mangkayan, Benguet, and it's the locals of Abra call it surung. That's the Ilocano term for very far up
Okay.
the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And there, so since the invitation was from the elder, I took that as a very important opportunity to further my quote unquote personal research on the role of beads in their life.
And what did you find out?
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, Cora.
Please tell.
When I arrived there, well, the journey was really grabe. It was very long. There were no roads. The vehicle which we rode on was a 6x6, and there was no
Mm-hmm.
specific road. They were going through mountains, hills, and dales, so to speak, without a road. But the drivers know exactly where to go.
Mm-hmm.
That much, and then in between we have to stop. There's no more. Not the 6x6 truck cannot go any further, and so we had to walk again, almost a day walk to reach that particular barangay. Okay, now fast forward when I got there. Of course, I was so tired, and they knew. uh, I was anxious
Hmm?
because these are, although they're very friendly, still there was anxiety in me.
Yeah.
This is a group of people which I'm meeting only now in person. And so the elder, the pangat said, Maestro, I will be translating. Maestro, please don't worry. Don't be anxious. And I can never forget what he said to assure me completely. For every strand of hair that is taken off you, a life will be the equivalent. That,
Wow.
yeah, that much. Wow. I said, no, 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 please. But that was so reassuring, Cora. My goodness. And who is this person who can say that authoritatively? It was the elder. It was the pangat who was the head of the group who invited me and brought me physically to their area. So, what did I see? Boy, I tell you, it's not just boys and girls, women and men. Everybody had a bed around their neck. That I I was so dumbfounded, and I said, "Wow, they love these beads, and the beads have a part of the culture." I asked, paano yan kung maubos na yung bead? Oh no, sabi nung pangat, we have to have one. To every child that is born, he has to have a piece at least around his or her neck. So, wow, isn't that fascinating? That shows the social importance and impact of beads on the indigenous lives.
What year was this, Ray?
Oh, this must be, oh, definitely the 70s, the middle 70s, 70s, 78 or 77, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
76. I was very new I then was an instructor in mathematics and physics at UP Baguio. And
Mm-hmm.
I was very new then. So it's about that time, the middle to late 70s.
Mm-hmm. But do you have any idea why they invited you? I mean, it apparently something about you that they felt was also safe. You were safe to bring to their community.
Well, I wouldn't say that it's the safety factor that led them to invite me, but the fact that among all the dealers in the uh, what this second floor artifact center of my Youth Center, I think I'd like to believe I am one of the few who did not take advantage of them, meaning I did not make barat to whatever they want to dispose of. And if I don't have the means, I would help look for people that would give them the right and conscionable price for this artifact. So it was this
So,
interaction. Tinggian of Abra.
Abra,
Yes.
you took safeguards in your collection to make sure that your methods were ethical, culturally, apparently culturally acceptable to the group,
Mm.
and if I may use the word correct.
Well, boasting aside, Cora, to this day, that's how important they are to me. And that's how it went beyond commerce. Otherwise, I could have disposed of them early on when it was in to buy beads. No, I kept them in the safety deposit box in the bank. So, well, that uh, that particular interaction brought a lot of friendship along. uh, so much so that should, if and when they find something important, they would come to us first. Not just me, we're a group, mainly our friends and co-faculty in the university who I was able to convince to help these people in their time of needs.
You're temporary custodian of part of Tingyan material culture, at least for that group that in
Right.
that barrio. Are
Yeah.
they alive? I mean, these elders, if these were the
No
70s.
more. Unfortunately, the original elders who invited me and who assured me of my safety already passed on. So I'm not very sure who are the new pangats, or somehow along the way we lost contact.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't had any word from this group
Yeah.
that I visited.
Uh-huh. But so you confined your relationship or your acquisition, or not collection but custodianship with
Uh-huh.
Tingyan. You did
Well, yes, majority of it is Tingyan, but not exclusively for Tingyan. We
not
also have from other Cordilleran groups like the ones from Kalinga, and because these are the indigenous peoples groups that had most of the beads that I saw.
Mhm. Now, may I bring the conversation back to aesthetics, because that's what we normally rhapsodize about beads, apart from, of course, the social significance,
Uh-huh.
they being markers of identity. Uh, which is there a point of comparison? There shouldn't be any comparison about the beads that you saw, or the assemblies of beads into either necklaces or headpieces. Alin ang pinakamaganda?
Ang sa akin, ang pinakamaganda, I forgot the term. I think it's called winayway.
Winayway.
Yeah, which is actually some sort of it's not, it's a lot longer than a necklace, and then it crisscrosses on the torso of the person, usually the women, of course. This
So
to
that
me
would
was
be Kalinga.
the kalinga.
Yeah, di ba? That's theirs, the Winayway. I think they're the ones that wear these beads across. Parang,
I'm not too sure, but I think so, yeah, because I didn't see any of this winayway in the community of Tinggians that I visited. Mostly that I saw were just necklaces.
but the one bead that I am interested is the uh, Pang-aw,
Okay, yeah.
which
You
has,
see,
it is a Pang-aw is a crystal bead, but it has gold inside. Correct me if
right.
I'm wrong.
Yes, yes. It's called the gold leaf, they call it. Well, the significance to me of the pangao is that these beads actually are not just worn as ornaments or as a identity, but it also speaks of, just like the Indians, the caste
Mhm.
system. Not everybody can wear a pang-aw. When you have a pang-aw, you're in that bracket called baknang.
What is it called?
The Ilocano baknang, the meaning of baknang in Ilocano, in translated to English, is the rich, the
Mm-hmm.
privileged.
Okay.
Okay, they were the ones who had this, and parang, kumbaga, they were the ones who exclusively can wear the pang-aw. When I was in this Tinggian community, they told me how they related to me how these beads reached their far-flung
Mm-hmm.
barangay.
Yeah.
And they said that their great great grandfathers used, believe it or not, I was so dumbfounded to hear this, used to go down to the shore
Mm-hmm.
during the uh, galleon trade.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, they confirmed that. They confirmed that they went down to the shores to trade and barter with the galleon trade.
Wow, that is amazing.
No, really, that was to me really a very, very fascinating story. And that's a matter of fact. I asked them then, because not relative to the beat, but why do you have also so much uh, this potteries? You know this, which I know by my interaction in the second floor in the these are part of those that they bartered with uh, the how galleon trade. So I said, this is so fragile, and how were you able to bring it up here? Because there were several houses with that, and they use it for storing salt or uh, salted meat and everything. And they said, you know what they said, Cora? Well, our highway were the river system.
Ah,
That's how those particular jars reach that far-flung barangay. No, I wouldn't say both. Okay, I think the fact that the mountains of Abra have a lot of bamboos, so they made rafts,
ah,
bamboo rafts.
I see. But
Definitely no boats. Well, to begin with, we didn't have much interaction on the stories of the means by which they brought it up. But I have a very strong suspicion that they used the bamboo rafts to go upstream.
thank you very much for this afternoon's conversation. And we hope that
Uh,
after the lockdown, lock in, whatever other restrictions we
right, right, right.
that the Museo ng Kaalamang Katutubo team will be able to go visit you and
Uh huh.
congratulate you on this
Uh huh.
attitude that you have. Thank you very much, Ray, Professor Rimando.
Well, welcome, Cora. And I would like to add that this is my distinct contribution to a culture that I have loved and, you know, I, I would like to be a part of. And may I just say that I think this particular affinity and importance of the Cordillera culture that we use to we use to our children to bring up the respect to other cultures has prodded my eldest son to choose the anthropology as his course at UP Diliman. So
Well,
I think that would be my contribution and a further contribution to our seriousness in making and guardianship to this cultural artifacts.
thank you. Thank you very much again.
Thank you too.
And
Thank you
my
too for having me.
peace,
Yeah.
our regards to the uh, the officials of the University of the Philippines, and of course to your family. We hope to see you soon. Thank you very much, Ray.
All right. All right. You're welcome and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Ray, for our candid usapan. You have our thanks for allowing us to have this kwentuhan with you and for your candor in your attitude about your custodianship of beads. To our listeners, thank you for spending time with us. MusKKat has planned a number more of podcasts, and we invite you to join us as we tackle various usapin with our usapan with experts, storytellers, and bearers of tangible and intangible culture. Maraming salamat po.